So, right. So, Chairman, shall we start the program?
Yes, sir. With the permission of the
Rajesh sir and Madam, shall we start? Yes. Good evening, friends. You're all welcome to this session, a virtual session on recent amendments to GST, as well as which are being given in the budget, as well as the GST 48th and 49th council meetings. Today we are joined by our chief guest, CA Rajesh S, who is a regional council member of SIRC. And today's our speaker is CA Archana Yadav from Mumbai. Friends, we will start the session with motto song. We need not raise, but as a mark of respect, we may place our right hand on our heart. Ramesh, play the motto song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Right. Thank you. Now I request the chairperson to give his opening remarks.
Yes, thank you, sir. Yeah, I am happy to welcome you. And today's our resource person and today's our chief guest of the day, Rajesh Garu, ever smiling face from the SIRC. He is popularly known to the connecting person. So like BSNL, all the things connecting together. He is popularly SIRC total connecting person, famously known to that. Ever smiling, ever handling to ever talk, easy, happy to talk with Rajesh Garu, happy to reach Rajesh Garu also. He is coming to, I think this is the first session we are coming virtually in this year, sir. We are happy to welcome you. And as well as Archana Yadav ma'am also from Bombay, he accepted immediately whatever the GST seminar. She is expert in GST area and all over the north side. Bombay, she is famous speaker. Her profile I saw yesterday. Her profile is a very big profile. She delivered more lectures. We are immediately accepting on behalf of our branch. We are heartful thanks to you, ma'am. Also, immediately are accepting our invitation for this session. And with Rajesh also, Rajesh ji also immediately with the short period he is also accepted immediately. Thank you very much, sir. And with brief friends, today's session is a very lively session. We are with the experts. Okay, please enrich your knowledge. Definitely you will get the updated information from the Archana Yadav. And friends, we are also happy to listen Rajesh sir also from the SIRC level. What is the student activities? He is handling a lot of student activities in the SIRC level. We can hear from him also. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman, for those words. Now I request CA Jayant, Treasurer of Vijayawada branch, to say a few words about our chief guest, CA Rajesh. Yes.
Yeah, very good evening to all of you. Thank you, Kishore sir, for this opportunity. Initially, let me formally introduce Rajesh sir. Later, I also want to share like a couple of words for Rajesh sir. And formally, he is qualified in 2012 and he is now a fellow member of the Institute practicing Coimbatore. Rajesh sir also served various positions in Coimbatore branch, such as Sikasa chairman, treasurer, secretary, vice chairman, and chairman. During the tenure as Students Association chairman, he was highly active with more than 183 events, and 2,200 plus students participate in all the events. And he also got best branch in Southern India for 2014-15. During his tenure as a Coimbatore branch chairman, he was also awarded as the best branch in Southern India in 18-19. He is a life member of Auditors Association of South India Coimbatore, Society of Auditors Chennai, Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry Chartered Accountants Association. Nominated as a member of the Board of Studies for various education institutions, he is a founder of Rajesh Foundation, and he has been part of a relief team for Chennai and Coimbatore floods and Kadalur floods and Kerala floods. And he addressed more than 30,000 students from schools, colleges, and other CA curriculum. CS Rajesh sir is a member of Regional Council of SARC of ICI, presently chairman for Career Counseling Committee and CSR Committee of SARC of ICI. So this is formally introduced, sir. Sorry for the disturbance. I'm traveling, but to say a few words about you, as already Chairman sir shared, your ever smiling face and your activeness and your connectivity is very well, sir. So one thing which I want to share at this point of time is, even though sir belongs to Coimbatore, he also connected with all branches in South India, not only Coimbatore. He's a very active regional council member. By his smile and his structure and his face, easily recognizable throughout South India. When we have attended our 2 days training for recent training in Bombay, we came to know that not only in South India, it is also famous in all the regions, WIRC, NIRC, CIRC. So with this, I'll hand over you to sir. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, over to Rajesh ji for your thoughts.
Very good evening, namaskar to the chairman of Vijayawada branch, young energetic leader of Vijayawada branch, CA Narendra Garu, vice chairman, more than a vice chairman, he is a speaker, a person, a YouTuber, and expert in equal to ChatGPT. So Secretary Narayan Kanchamareddy, and a very good friend and smiling and energetic, what to say, Jayant. He was he's loved by many people. I mean, the way he gets close with all people. So I meant that way. CA Jayant and the speaker of the day, Archana madam, we have been connected, but not interacted much. So it's a wonderful chance and opportunity. I thank Vijayawada branch and managing committee for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate the efforts taken by Vijayawada branch. More than we are getting connected with Vijayawada branch is very close to all the regional council members. Any program at Vijayawada, it's like we feel like it's in a program happening at our own home branch. That's the way the committee members are connected with all regional council and central council members. So it's like coming. This is an online event, but otherwise we'll feel like coming home when we go to Vijayawada. The way they receive us and the hospitality and everything. Last year, Smita madam was there. Everything, it was like we feel homely feel there. So a wonderful team of committee members there. So I really appreciate the team for taking good efforts and organizing and bringing a lot of experts and Vijayawada branch, though small branch or a normal level branch in size, but the level of activity and performance, we should say it's like doing it like a mega category branch. So good efforts by team and even for the Archana madam, you may not be aware, but even for the takeover of the assumption of office, the ministers are waiting in line every year. Ministers are coming there for the assumption of office bearers. So that's the level of connect the Vijayawada branch is having socially, and also the level of activity they are doing. So really appreciate the team of Vijayawada branch, and I thank them for this opportunity. Coming to this program, recent GST amendments and the changes with regard to the council meetings. So it's a wonderful topic coined by the chairman and team, and I'm sure Archana madam is here to elaborate more on this topic. And coming to GST and other things, as we are aware, even though with the technology and other things, more of the data and everything can be taken handled with technology, but still in the coming days we expect more of litigations, maybe with the because of the departmental audit or otherwise also. We can expect more of litigations coming up, and I'm sure this program this year, starting this year, you have organized a program on GST recent changes. Let us all work together and enlighten and encourage members to expertise on handling those litigations. When it comes to faceless assessment, other things, earlier we had value for our face. So it was like any assessment, the face value was very important. But now it's faceless assessment, and now the document speaks more. So the papers speak more, and the way that it is coined, the way it is drafted, so everything matters a lot. So when it comes to litigation, subject expertise in the subject. So now we don't have an opportunity to meet and interact with the officers to elaborate them on the what the submission we have made. Maybe they would have assumed it in a different way. We will not have the opportunity to explain them the positivity in every case and those things. So now the way we should coin the any litigation, any appeal or anything, the way it is drafted, it's very much important. So let us all work together. Let us encourage members to participate in more programs, in specializing themselves, expertising themselves in each and every area with the latest changes and recent judicial pronouncements and other things. And also the level of the expertise knowledge required for drafting. So I think these small changes and challenges, it may look like a challenge, but I'm sure this all are everything. Every challenge is going to give us an answer. It's going to turn up into an opportunity for us. And I'm sure we members, as a chartered accountant, we have faced a big challenge, and we have cleared this course, and we are practicing as chartered accountants. So these small changes or challenges will not be a real challenge for us. We are taking into consideration our ability and capacity. So let us all face these changes, and let us all face these challenges and convert it into an opportunity. And I'm sure we chartered accountant, we are subject wise, we are expertised. We still more need to expertise ourselves on the soft skill, and also with regard to the level of drafting and other things. Maybe such programs can be organized more, and I request the branch to encourage members to participate in more such programs, and make them ready for the future to face the litigations and other things. And the level of practice also, maybe the present bank audit scenario, there are still a question whether we will be receiving the bank audit and those things. So let us all get ready to get into the next level of practice, and get into the next look for new opportunities arising out. So let us not depend on the bank audit, not only the bank audit and those things. There are new opportunities and things coming out. So let us all look for it and get ready for it. And I'm sure chartered accountants, we can handle any challenge, and let us all work on it together. So I really thank the organizing team for giving me this opportunity. And I hear like this is the second webinar, I believe, second webinar of the new committee. And this is the webinar for me, the first webinar for me. So I really thank So today I'm in Tirunelveli. Today we had a program here. So I really thank the team for giving me this opportunity, and it will be a great pleasure to be part of any event of Vijayawada branch. Not only event, to any support or anything required, and I am happy that you have a wonderful ex officio SARC chairman, immediate past SARC chairman. So having him as an ex officio, it's like you are having a SARC behind you. So it's like so all the expertise, the speakers and everything. So you have a wonderful team, and also you have a wonderful leaders together. So I'm sure Vijayawada branch this year sub-region also is there. So everything together you will rock again. And my hearty wishes to you. And I thank the team for this opportunity. Anything from my side, I will be always there for you. Thank you very much, sir. Archana madam, it's a pleasure to join you with this event. I am also honored to be part of this event.
Right. Thank you. Thank you
you,
very much, Rajesh sir. Definitely, it was a pleasure talking to you as well as listening to you. And the 2 days at a Bombay orientation program, we all had an exchange of good thoughts.
Yes,
Madam,
yes.
Archana madam, to say you something about Vijayawada branch, for the last 3 years, we have successfully bagged the All India Best Branch Award at National Awards.
That's huge achievement, sir. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, madam. So with the help of people like Rajesh sir, our chairman is also aiming at getting another Best Branch Award, because myself, Narendra and Shirin have taken the award 3 times in a row. So maybe getting this time also will be the 3 persons taking 4 times in a row. So that is our wish, with the help of people like Rajesh sir, and definitely, as said by him, Chenamastan, who is the immediate past chairman of SIRC. His contribution is also immense, along with the contribution of Central Council member from Andhra Pradesh, CA Prasannaji. Right, friends, let me say a few words about today's speaker, Archana madam. She is a chartered accountant in practice for the last 19 years, having expertise and rich experience in GST, income tax, international taxation, and audits, as well as corporate audits. She has completed business studies in entrepreneurship from IIM Bangalore, and also a MBA graduate from XIMB in finance, FAFE from ICI, and GST certified faculty for ICI. She is acting as an independent women director with one of the listed BSc companies, and she was a financial advisor to the autonomous body Messrs. National Institute of Solar Energy and the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. She was a professor at SN College of Commerce for 2 years for BMS and TY BCom students. Also, she has worked with various MNCs as management consultant, service tax consultant, and direct tax advisor. She was appointed as a GST faculty by ICA for GST knowledge sharing across India, and also appointed as a women director independent judge at one of the company listed at Bombay Stock Exchange. She has successfully implemented SAP GST with MNCs during the GST inception, and she has delivered lectures and webinars successfully for various organizations, including CII Mumbai, GST Research Foundation, WIRC of ICI, Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Tally India Private Limited, as well as Meera Bhayandar Industrial Association, Pen Association of India, Wiring and Cable Industry Association, Samadhan Tech India Private Limited, to name a few. It's what you made.
Thank you so much, Ravi sir. And the introduction has given me goosebumps right now, the way it has come up. It was, so nicely presented. First of all, I bow down to the entire SIRC team members for giving me this opportunity. And I congratulate Narendra ji for, taking over as a chairman of the Vijayawada branch. Rajesh ji has been quite, we have been interacting on various social media platforms. I totally agree with what Rajesh sir has said. We chartered accountants always treat the challenges as an opportunity. So I could relate one challenge that we GST, the chartered accountants as a GST consultants we have taken over. So 2017 when GST was about to come up, and then government approached our ICI to teach GST to the entire India. And at that time, again taking the privilege of taking one of the seniors name Madhukar Hirikange sir. He was Central Council member at that time, and he was heading the Indirect Tax Committee. And the way the entire activity was taken care, and then there was 3 level of experts made in the system, and then we were able to train more than, I think, 3 lakh members at that time, and we had 300 hours of only YouTube lectures on GST from ICI. Entire India was taken aback how this level of activity can be done by ICI. So we have been prominent and professionals who have been teaching the entire India, enabling the entire India, whether it is taxes, whether it is IFRS, whether it is Ind AS. I am so privileged and so proud to be part of this entire CA society. And when Rajesh ji mentioned about Ravi sir being a chat GPT, the nomenclature, it is such a proud to understand that we chartered accountants, without being worried whether our jobs will be taken away by a technology, we have actually taken over the chat GPT and started using it in our daily lives. So that is the level of confidence. And this level of confidence that comes is basically from the council members that we have. Right from, if I understand, I think 2010 that I started following up with the ICI, and the council members, whether it is regional or that is central, everyone has been taking such a great step, whether they have been forming committees, whether they are inviting the seniors, leaders to speak on the various platforms, synergizing the entire system, whether it is SIRC, right? I am sitting in WIRC right now and I'm talking from the platform of SIRC. Where do we see such a level of, synchronization in the professional society? So I'm so humbled and I'm full of gratitude for giving me this opportunity. And believe me, I would love to meet the entire team when I'm in South. I've been traveling to Bangalore and Chennai. Right now I'm planning to come to Hyderabad and possibly Vijayawada as well. I would love to meet everyone. And this is, a very big opportunity for me. To start with GST, we are actually trying to cover the budget amendments, the 48th Council and the 49th Council. So what we have done is basically we have tried to talk about each of the amendments. We are not synchronizing all in one and telling the forum as to what is the amendment. We have put each and every amendment separately. I will share my PPT for you. I have the permission to share the PPT.
Yes, madam. Yes,
madam.
share. You can share.
Okay, sir. Is my presentation visible, sir?
Yes, yes. Please go on.
So this is one of the flyers that I received from the Narendra sir and Ramesh ji, and one of the most beautiful flyers. I would love to, highlight this in my presentation. This is one of the most beautiful flyers that I received, and it's so graceful and mentioning the names and everything. So thank you so much for this flyer, and that's the introduction of the entire session that I've put it over here. Then my humble request is to take this session only as an personal views. Please do not treat it as a concrete views coming for the law, and please do not interpret based on the information shared. It is only an educational purposes. Anyone who wants to take the views from the discussion that is happening right now and want to take some concrete views from it, I request the person to review the tax laws, take the help of tax experts, and then only conclude on any of the views, because this is just a educational PPT and educational information that we are sharing. The act that we are discussing over here is only the CGST Act 2017. Anywhere, if I'm talking about any other act, it can be IGST or the SGST Act, then I've separately mentioned about that act. Otherwise, the whole PPT is about the CGST Act 2017, read with rules 2017. I was looking at the CBIC website, And again, we come to the technology that we have been talking about. If you read the third portion of it, tax compliance made easy. Greater use of IT will reduce human interface between taxpayer and the tax administrator. Automated procedures for processes like registration returns, tax payments, refunds, and credit verification. Compliance burden to come down with one pan-India tax replacing multiple taxes. We do agree multiple taxes has been done away, and one of the stringent taxes that we had was octroi, which has been done away by the GST, and people and the dealers are quite relieved out of it. So this is one of the vision that I totally adhere to the GST. I also talk about the GST collections that has, in the recent past been disclosed by the department. So if you look at 1.49 lakh crores of GST revenue has been collected in February 2023. And this is almost 12% higher than the GST revenue in the same month last year, which was 1.33 lakh crores. So the graph is on the rise. And imagine the target of 2 lakh crores now, which government somewhere is talking about, though they have not made it the public, but they are talking about 2 lakh crores in the recent future. 50th GST Council is likely to be held in June 23. And one of the main agendas that they are discussing is about, taxes on the online gaming, horse racing, and the casinos will be taken up. So this is one of the most litigative transactions that they will be possibly handling in the 50th GST Council. And tax rate that they are proposing is 28%, which will actually not be in the right spirit for these industries. And they have represented quite heavily to the government, but let's see what comes up in the 50th GST Council. So we will talk about the 48th GST Council meeting, and specifically 48th GST Council meeting, whatever has been recommended. So this was held on 17th December 22. It was virtual meeting. It was headed by the chairperson of chairperson of Nirmala Sitharaman, who is the Union Finance Minister and Corporate Affairs Minister. Amendment almost which has been recommended in the GST Council has been notified either on 26th December 22 or 30th December 22. So most of the recommendations has been already notified. Now, one of the recommendations of 48th GST Council was that the residential property which is rented by the proprietors for their personal purposes, there will be no RCM applicable on it. Now, if you understand 47th GST Council meeting, there was a recommendation of levy of reverse charge on the renting of the residential property. So July 22, there was the notification and it got implemented. And any person who is hiring a property, a residential property, and the person is registered, then they need to pay a reverse charge on that particular renting of the renting transaction. However, there was no clarity, as in the person who is renting this property is actually using it for his personal purposes and not using it for his business purposes. There was a lot of representation to the department, and therefore in 48th Council meeting, the government has recommended, the GST Council has recommended that no GST is payable where the residential dwelling is rented to a registered person if it is rented in personal capacity for use of own residence and on his own account and not on account of his business. And that has been notified on 30th December 22. So now from 1st January 23, if you are hiring or renting a property for residential purposes on your own account and not for the business purpose, you need not pay a reverse charge on that particular transaction. However, the transaction that is lying from July 22 to 31st December 22, there is no clarification on it. However, the experts, they believe that since this is more of a clarificatory recommendation and notification, then ideally from July 22 to 31st December 22, also there should be no RCM on this renting of a residential property, which is for the personal purposes. There is a subsidy that is provided by the central government to the various banks for the purpose of promotion of RuPay system and the BHIM transactions. The GST department tried to levy taxes on it, saying that it is a supply. However, in the 48th GST Council meeting, it was recommended that it is in the nature of subsidy and therefore not taxable. So any amount that is paid for the promotion of RuPay transaction or the BHIM transaction, it will not be chargeable to GST. We always have this struggle of filing the appeal. So whenever there is a refund rejection or there is a cancellation of a GST and ID, when you file an appeal with the Commissioner Appeals or the appellate authorities, then the appeal used to go online. Form APL 01 used to get generated. However, APL 02, which is acknowledgement of the appeal getting filed by with the Commissioner Appeals, was not getting generated. And the proposition was that we need to file a certified true copy of the order with the office. They will verify the documents and then there will be a manual issue of APL 02 and the system will be updated with APL 02. Now, there used to be a lot of delay in processing of the appeals and many a times the APL 02 was not getting issued as the certified true copy from the assessing officer or the concerned officer was not received, or there used to be no clarity on it. So 48th GST Council recommended that if the certified true copy of the order is already on the website and the moment the appeal is filed, then APL 02 has to be automatically generated and need not wait for the certified true copy of the order. However, where the copy of the order is not on the portal, then the appellant shall submit a self-certified copy of the said decision or the order within the period of 7 days from the date of filing of APL 01. So if you file an appeal on 1st January, then by 7th of January, you need to file a self-certified copy of the order. And then a final acknowledgement indicating the appeal number shall be issued by the GST, by the department in the form of GST APL 02 by the appellate authority or an officer authorized by him. However, in case you miss out submitting this self-certified copy of the order, then the date when you submit such self-certified copy, the date of submission of such copy shall be considered as the date of filing the appeal. So when you have an appeal already uploaded on the portal, the moment you file an APL 01, APL 02 should be automatically generated and the acknowledgement date, the APL 02 date shall be treated as the date of filing the appeal. When the order is not available on the portal, you file a self-certified copy of the order with the appellate authority, and appellate authority will issue the final acknowledgement copy, and the copy of that acknowledgement shall be the date on which the filing of the appeal will be treated. So date of issue of the provisional acknowledgement shall be considered as the date of filing of appeal. However, in case we miss out filing the self-certified copy, then the date on which we submit the copy of the self-certified order, then that the submission of such copy shall be considered as the date of filing of appeal. Again, if you come to the later part of it, wherein the department has filed an appeal, and the department again will have to self-certify in case the copy of the order is not available on the portal. Also, there is a concept of withdrawal of the appeal, which is a GST APL 03W. In case we need to withdraw the order, withdraw the appeal, then we can apply to the authority. I will cover it in the next slide. So where the decision or order appealed against is not uploaded on the common portal, the appellant, wherein the department is an appellant because they have gone against the order that has been passed by the assessing officer, they have to again apply within 7 days the self-certified copy and APL 03 will be issued. Withdrawal of appeal. The appellant may at any time before issuance of show cause notice under subsection 11 of section 107 or before issuance of the order under said subsection, whichever is earlier in respect of any appeal filed in form GST APL 01 or APL 03, file an application of withdrawal of the said appeal by filing an application in GST APL 0103W. So in case I want to withdraw an appeal, for example, if I have some favorable judgment coming from any court and my appeal has been, made for that particular matter, and now I want to withdraw that appeal, then I can go ahead and file an withdrawal form with the appellate authority, and I can withdraw the appeal. However, it has to be before the issuance of the order or before the issuance of the show cause notice of 107(11). Provided where the final acknowledgement in APL 02 has been issued, the withdrawal of the said appeal would be subject to approval of the appellate authority, and that has to be decided within 7 days. So where APL 02 has been issued, then the withdrawal of the appeal would be only with the approval of the appellate authority, and the appellate authority has to decide within 7 days of filing such an application. Also, where any fresh appeal filed by the appellant pursuant to such withdrawal shall be filed within the time limit as provided in section 107. So I have withdrawn an appeal, but then later on I realized that I need to file the appeal again because of some misinterpretation of the law or the matter. Then it has to be within the time limit that has been provided in the law. It cannot be after the withdrawal of the time limit and then fresh time limit will be allotted. It has to be within the time limit that is provided in section 107(2) and 107(1). Now we always hear about Aadhaar being authenticated or a mobile number being authenticated by the GST department while filing the GST registrations. There has been a lot of to and fro and then system glitches as well, wherein the registration processes are getting delayed. Also, many a times the phone numbers or the email IDs that is uploaded are not the right one. And after a period of time, the dealer approaches the department saying that the mobile number does not belong to me and you need to reinstate this. To do away with all these challenges that the department has been facing, they have provided that the Aadhaar and the mobile number will be picked up from the CBDT database. So unlike current times, when this GST registration, you need to file a TRN, temporary registration application. You were allowed to file a mobile number and the email ID and the other details, whatever was available with you. However, now the system is on a pilot run. You will not be allowed to feed the data of mobile number or the Aadhaar number. It will be the moment you file the registration, it will be auto-picked based on the credentials that we share of the person, the authorized signatory or the director of the company or the proprietor. The data will be picked up from the CBDT database. And from the CBDT database, the authentication of the OTP and the email will be done. And based on those numbers only, you will be able to move forward for the registration. And within 30 days after this application has been done, the registration number will be allotted if my risk parameters match. So even the TRN number will be, data will be picked from the CBDT database. Based on risk parameters, person opting for Aadhaar authentication will be picked up and shall be followed by biometric based Aadhaar authentication and taking photograph of the applicant where the applicant is an individual or such individuals in relation to the applicant as notified under 25(6)(c), where the applicant is not an individual, along with the verification of the original copy of documents uploaded with the application in form GST REG01 at the one of the facilitation centers notified by the commissioner for the purpose of this sub-rule, and the application shall be deemed to be complete only after completion of the process laid down under this sub-rule. So one is database will be picked up from Aadhaar, the Aadhaar and the mobile number will be picked up from the CBDT database. Second, there is a pilot run which is happening in the state of Gujarat, wherein based on the risk parameters, the biometric authentication will be done at the one of the facilitation centers, which will be notified by the commissioners. And after this has been done, then only the registration will be granted. One of the amendments that was called for was the cancellation of the numbers that was allotted to the tax deductor and the tax collectors. So earlier what was happening was, if I am a government body or a local authority body, I am supposed to take a registration for tax deduction. And if I'm an e-commerce company, then I'm supposed to take a registration for the tax collection. However, in case I'm not required to, or I cease to become a tax deductor or tax collector at any point of time, there was no concept of cancellation of the registration. So 48th Council has recommended that on a request in writing by a person to whom registration has been granted under sub-rule 2 will be allowed to get the TDS or the TCS number cancelled. Now we all know about the 180 days concept. In case the person who is the recipient of the input tax credit has not paid to the supplier within 180 days, then the person will have to reverse the input tax credit availed against the said transaction. There was a lot of debate and deliberation happening as to what is the amount that needs to be reversed. Do I need to reverse 100%? Do I need to reverse a proportionate amount? Do I need to reverse the percentage of amount not paid? This entire debate was going on for last 5 years. This has been set at rest at the 48th Council meeting, wherein they said that in respect of such supply, proportionate to the amount not paid to the supplier will be treated as not paid, and the input tax credit proportionate to the amount not paid will be reversed as per the Rule 37(1). Then we have Rule 37A. So after 37(1), there is one more rule inserted. This is a new rule that has been inserted. This talks about your supplier who has not filed his GSTR 3B return. Till what period? Till the period of September, following the end of the financial year. So if I have a supplier who is ABC, who has filed all his GST returns, GSTR 1 or the IFF, and every data is reflecting in my GSTR 2A and 2B. However, if he fails to file the respective period return as in GSTR 3B return, by the 30th day of September following the end of financial year, then the input tax credit in respect of those invoices that has been availed by the recipient needs to be reversed in the coming October month return by the recipient. In case he does not reverse it, then he will have to pay this amount along with interest under section 50. So I read the rule which has been inserted. Reversal of input tax credit in respect of input tax credit in case of non-payment of tax by the supplier and re-availment thereof. So where an input tax credit has been availed by a registered person in the return in Form 3B for a tax period in respect of invoice or a debit note, the details of which have been furnished by the supplier in the statement of outward supplies in Form GSTR 1 or using the IFF facility, but the return in GSTR 3B for the tax period corresponding to the said statement of outward supply has not been furnished by such supplier till the 30th day of September following the end of the financial year, in which the input tax credit in respect of such invoice or debit note has been availed, the said amount of input tax credit shall be reversed by the registered person while furnishing the return in Form 3B on or before 30th day of November following the end of the financial year. So wait till 30th of September. In case your dealer has not filed his GSTR 3B for that respective period, whatever may be the period, then in the month of October, you need to reverse the input tax credit that you have availed for that respective period. And once the supplier files the GSTR 3B, then in the subsequent month, you can avail the input tax credit for that respective period. The proviso says, provided that where the said amount of input tax credit is not reversed by the registered person in return in 3B on or before 30th day of November, following the end of the financial year during which such input tax credit has been availed, such amount shall be payable by the said person along with interest thereon under section 50. Other significant provisions that has been recommended for the change in the 48th GST Council meeting is E-commerce or the online information database access retrieval to issue tax invoice with PIN code and the name of the state so that place of supply can be determined. So now as an e-commerce dealer, if you are issuing an invoice, we need to specifically mention the PIN code and the name of the state so that place of supply, whether it is IGST or the CGST, SGST, and to which state this IGST is going can be determined. Invoice cum bill of supply to contain particulars as specified under Rule 46, 54, as the case may be, and Rule 49. So as of now, tax invoice was mentioned with so many particulars about the name of the person, the dealer, the GST and ID, the place of supply. Now even the invoice cum bill of supply needs to be having a specific input about the criteria mentioned in Rule 46 and Rule 54 and the Rule 49. E-way bill provisions now apply to intimation jewelry as well. So jewelry and the gold diamond was exempted from preparing the e-way bill. Now in the 48th GST Council meeting, they have said that e-way bill provisions now apply to intimation jewelry. So HSN code also they have specifically mentioned. The HSN code is 7117 and accordingly Rule 138 has been amended. Form REG 19 amended, order for cancellation. GSTR 1 amended to provide bifurcation of e-commerce sales where taxes collected by the e-commerce dealer. So now if you go to the, if I recall it properly, the exempted supply in case where the e-commerce dealer is collecting the tax and paying to the department and the dealer himself is exempt from collecting the tax and paying it, needs to be separately reported so that the exact bifurcation of tax collected and the percentages can be determined. So the GSTR 1 has been amended to that extent. APL 01 and APL 03W has been notified, which we discussed previously. DRC 01 be notified. This we will talk in the later part of the slides. DRC 03 amended. So ARN of Form GST RFD 01 to be mentioned mandatorily if cause of payment is selected as deposit of erroneous refund of unutilized ITC. So many times the department has actually issued a refund which was in the erroneous nature. For example, you demanded a refund of 100, but they granted you 110. Many times it is like the refund has been claimed, which is not exactly the proportionate refund of as per Rule 89.4 or 89.5, or you have claimed the input credit of capital goods and the department has erroneously granted you. And in case you need to deposit this refund back, then the DRC 03 has a separate tab to mention the ARN number of the RFD 01 against which the refund has been granted and the erroneous the deposit of erroneous refund of unutilized ITC is mentioned in the criteria. So that department can separately take the input of this data as to how much refund has been erroneously granted and you have paid the required interest and the refund amount matching to the refund granted. We always talk about the differences. So if you see GSTR 3B has become a very prominent player in the entire GST arena. Every particular input tax credit or return is actually held up with GSTR 3B. So if you see, they always talk about the differences, and when differences, it is not about the differences between husband and wife or son and the father or the boss and the employee, but it is about the differences about GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. So you always get ASMT 10 talking about GSTR 1 3B difference. You always get a demand notice saying there is a difference between GSTR 1 particular month and 3B. So now they have amended Rule 59. Rule 59 of CGST rules 2017, and Rule 59 says that a registered person to whom an intimation has been issued on the common portal under the provisions of Sub-Rule 1 of Rule 88C in respect of tax period shall not be allowed to furnish the details of outward supplies of goods or services on oath under Section 37 in Form GSTR 1 or using the IFF for the subsequent period unless he has deposited the difference amount or he has furnished a satisfactory reply. So either of the two. So what happens is we just keep on lingering between all this. And then if you read the entire specific rule 88C, which we talked about, the rule says manner of dealing with the difference in liability reported in statement of outward supply and that reported in return. Return means GSTR 3B return. So where a taxable person has reported 100 rupees in GSTR 1, but 90 rupees in GSTR 3B, that difference of rupees 10 will be raised through a form, part A of DRC 01B, and the person has to reply back within 7 days, either pay the tax along with the interest or give a reply on the common portal, and it should be satisfactory to the officer. In case he does not do this, then he will not be allowed to file GSTR 1 of the coming period, and system will block him till the time he files the part B or he files the reply. So the registered person referred in subrule 1 shall, upon receipt of the intimation referred to in that subrule, either pay the amount of differential tax liability as specified in part A, fully or partially, along with interest under section 50 through GST DRC 03, and furnish the details in part B of GSTR DRC 01B electronically on the common portal, or furnish a reply electronically on the common portal incorporating reasons in respect of that, of the differential tax liability that has remained unpaid in respect of any of the amount in part B of GST DRC 01B within the period specified in the said rule. Where any amount specified in the intimation referred to in subrule 1 remains unpaid within the period specified in that subrule, and where no explanation or reason is furnished by the person in default, or where the explanation or reason furnished by such person is not found to be acceptable, the said amount shall be recoverable in accordance with the provisions of section 17(9). So there was a lot of hue and cry about the data that has been reflecting in GSTR 2, GSTR 2A, GSTR 3B, and then GSTR 2B. And then we had a matching circular coming from Maharashtra government in form of circular 02A, dated 25th Feb 2022, wherein the government, Maharashtra government has clarified that if the difference is due to technical glitches, then the benefit of doubt should be passed on to the dealer, and maybe a self-certification or a certificate from a supplier or the chartered accountant certificate can be availed, and the demand can be dropped. So to match that level of requirement, and also based on the representations that has been done by various associations, because financial year 17-18 and 18-19 were the initial GST years, and many of the dealers were not aware of the technical proposition of GST and portal, due to which many data did not get reflected, or they were not inserted in the system, or they were reflected only in GSTR 9. So government in the GST council meeting in the 48th, this one, they have come up with the recommendation that proper procedural aspect to be taken up and the relief to be provided to the dealer. So in support of the same, the CBIC has issued a circular number 183/15/2022, dated 27th December 22, wherein they said if these are the 4 criteria, that GSTR 3B is filed and tax paid, but failed to file GSTR 1, or filed GSTR 1 and 3B, but failed to report a particular supply in GSTR 1, or filed a GSTR 1 and also 3B, invoice issued as B2B with correct GSTN, but in GSTR 1 reported as B2C, or filed as GSTR 1, 3B, invoice issued as B2B with correct GSTN, but in GSTR 1 reported with wrong GSTN. So if these are the 4 criteria wherein the error has happened by the supplier, then proper officer shall seek details from the registered person regarding all the invoices on which ITC has been availed in GSTR 3B, but not reflecting in 2A. He will ascertain all the conditions of section 16 have been fulfilled, and the officer shall also check whether any reversal of input tax credit is required to be made in accordance with section 17 or section 18, and whether the said input tax credit has been availed within the time period specified under section 16(4) of CGST Act. He will also verify whether tax on the said supply has been paid by the supplier. So a proper officer has to look at these aspects and he has to grant the relief. They have also provided that where the difference exceeds rupees 5 lakhs in a financial year, certificate along with the UDN from the chartered accountant or the cost accountant needs to be provided. And if the difference is up to 5 lakh rupees, a certificate from the supplier can be availed. Now, this is a huge relief that was provided. As per financial year 17-18 and 18-19, there was a lot of challenges during the assessment and the GST audit that was happening. So this is quite a relief that has been provided, and I have seen many dealers availing the benefit of this. These instructions that has been issued through circular number 183/15/22 can be extended to financial year 19-20 as well. And this has been from the judgment of Honorable Karnataka High Court dated 6th January 23 in case of Messrs. Wipro India Limited. So the benefit of circular of 183/15 can be extended for the financial year 19-20 as well. They have 48th GST Council also recommended for decriminalization of certain offences. So they have raised the minimum threshold limit of tax amount for launching prosecution from 1 crore to 2 crores, except for the offence of issuance of invoices without supply of goods or services or both. Now, all this recommendation that has come from the GST Council has been also taken care in the budget amendments, and they have been recently freshly applied for. Decriminalization certain offences specified under clause G, J and K of subsection 1 of section 132 of CGST Act. So if there is an obstruction or preventing any officer in discharge of his duties, or there is an evidence that there is a deliberate tampering of material evidences or failure to supply the information, these particular offences have also been decriminalized. Now we talk about the budget amendments. Budget has been passed by the Lok Sabha on 24th March 2023, and certain amendments that were recommended in 49th Council meeting has also been taken care of in the amendments. So if you look at the composition dealers and the non-registered dealers are still not allowed to trade with the e-commerce portals. So in 47th Council meeting, it was in principle approval was granted for allowing unregistered suppliers and composition taxpayers to make intrastate supply of goods through e-commerce portal subject to certain conditions. And then Council also brought this amendment, and there is one more amendment which I will talk in the next slide about the e-commerce portal guys putting proper checks and balances to see to it that this provision or this relief has not been misused. So now, as of now, unregistered suppliers with GST or the composition taxpayers are now allowed to deal with the e-commerce dealers to make an intrastate supply. Clause 128 of the bill seeks to amend clause D of subsection 2 and clause C of the subsection 2A of section 10 of CGST Act to remove restriction imposed on registered person engaged in supplying goods through electronic commerce operators from opting to pay tax under composition levy. So either put it in the way wherein a person who is a regular dealer is only allowed to trade through e-commerce portal, and he was not allowed to opt for a composition levy. Now he is allowed to opt for a composition levy provided he makes an intrastate transactions. There is a amendment in the budget, and it is providing for a penalty in subsection 1B of section 122 of the CGST Act to provide for penal provisions applicable to electronic commerce operators in case of contravention of provisions relating to supplies of goods made through them by unregistered person or composition taxpayers. So if a composition taxpayer or unregistered dealer with GST is contravening any of the provisions which is through the e-commerce operator, then it is the e-commerce operator who will be levied with the general penalty, and department will see to it that the e-commerce operator has taken care of all the provisions and does not allow the unregistered dealer or the composition dealer to breach the provisions of the law. Section 16 bracket 2. So we were talking about 180 days. Remember rule 37(1) was amended. So rule 37(1) was amended based on the recommendation of the GST Council. The same has been again amended in the budget, in the recent budget, and they have said that instead of adding the amount, the reversal amount to the output tax liability, the recipient will have to pay the same along with interest under section 50 of the CGST Act. So now if I have a vendor to whom I have not paid the amount and 180 days has been reached, then instead of waiting for filing a 3B and adding the amount to my 3B amount in the outward tax liability, I am supposed to pay the amount along with DRC 03 along with the interest under section 50. Again, the third proviso has been amended, and it says that the amount that is payable by the recipient of the input tax credit to the supplier. So now the amount has to be paid to the supplier. Now this to the supplier is not very clear whether there has to be a physical transaction between the vendor and the customer, or it can be an on behalf transaction, because this amendment somewhere is speaking to the supplier. So my amount, the discharge of the payment has to be made to the supplier. The clarification is still awaited from the department. However, let us understand the insertion of this word is somewhere restricting the provision of on behalf payments or maybe payment made through third-party portals. We always talk about the corporate social responsibility, and then many a times the amount that is involved in corporate social responsibility is in crores. And the corporate companies, the companies that expend this amount also have to pay GST, and many times the GST is at the rate of 18% or 28% as well. So there was a lot of demand from the corporate sector to allow the input tax credit that has been incurred while rendering the corporate social responsibility services. Also, the point that was made was that this corporate social responsibility is actually a mandatory provision as per the section 135 of the Companies Act. So ideally, the input tax credit in the spirit of the law should be allowed as an input tax credit. But then budget 23 has made this amendment, and they have said that input tax credit in respect of the corporate social responsibility will not be allowed to the corporates, will not be allowed. The input tax credit will not be allowed. However, since this is a new section that has been inserted, the disallowance, that is the restriction that is there, is prospective. Whether the input tax credit from 1st July 2017 till the date before these provisions get notified will be allowed as an input tax credit is again a matter of debate. And since the amount involved is huge, I'm sure this may land up into the litigations. We always talk about the import of goods and then getting the goods imported cleared before, rendering it or relieving it for the home consumption. So these are the high seas sales that, happen beyond the territories of the taxable territories of India. So normally this amount that is there, that is, the transaction that is happening is not included for the purpose of reversal of input tax credit or the common input tax credit. Now the budget has amended this, and they say that supply of custom bonded warehouse goods before clearance for home consumption to be included for the purposes of computing the value of exempt supply. So my section 17 bracket 3 has been amended, and the value of goods used for high seas sales or the value of supply in the high seas sales will be used for the adding to the value of exempt supply to calculate the input tax reversal credit. Earlier, this was not included. This has been amended now, and this has been amended to include the exempt supply in the total turnover amount. So, for Rule 42 and 43 of the CGST rules regarding input tax reversal will be applied. So simple, if you are having a transaction which is, beyond the territories of India, and the goods have been, traded outside India, and this, since it is treated as an exempt supply, for these purposes. If you read them, it is forming part of Schedule 3. Schedule 3 says activities not to be treated as supply. However, for the purposes of 17(3), this particular amount will be treated as an exempt supply. So for one part, it is not treated as supply, but for the purpose of 17(3) and Rule 4243, will be treated as an exempt supply for the calculation of reversal of input tax credit. Again, Schedule 3 has been amended, but this amendment is basically a retrospective amendment. So para 7, para 8A and 8B were inserted in Schedule 3 with effect from 1st February 2019. So my high sea sales, the sales that is happening outside India, were not treated as a supply at all. And this particular amendment was inserted in Schedule 3 on 1st February 2019. However, now the budget has amended to say that this is effective 1st July 2017. So now all these 3 paras are treated effective from 1st July 2017. However, if you have paid a tax against this transaction, treating it as a taxable supply, then in the budget they have mentioned that no refund will be granted on these transactions if you have paid the taxes till 31st January 2019. Again, one more restriction by the department. They have provided that if you fail to file your returns, so GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, annual return and TCS returns, within 3 years from the due date, then system will block your returns and you will not be allowed to file your returns after 3 years, after completion of 3-year time limit. So we need to file whatever returns are pending before the 3 years. There was one more confusion happening, as in if a person is having only exempt supply, but for some reason it needed to get registered for the RCM purposes. So for instance, if they have an advocate services, which is liable to RCM under GST, do they need to register? There was a lot of confusion on this, and then again the system was not capable of providing the complete solution on this. What I understand, due to system constraints and all these reasons, Section 23 has been amended and it is proposed to be substituted retrospectively from 1st July 2017 to provide that Section 23 of the CGST Act shall override Section 22 and 24 of the CGST Act, which provided for compulsory registration in specific cases. So now if you have completely exempt supply which is not liable to tax or wholly exempt from tax under CGST Act or IGST Act, then you need not register only for a specific RCM purposes. This is a consequential amendment. Now Section 54(6) has been amended to only remove the reference to the provisionally accepted input tax credit. So from 1st January 22, a dealer is not allowed to avail a credit unless the data is reflecting in GSTR 2B. So the concept of provisional credit has been done away by the GST law from 1st January 22. So the concept of provisional credit does not apply. So no refund of provisional credit is there. So they have amended just to match this transaction, amendment. Then clause 137 has been amended to compute the delay that has been happened in the grant of the refund. So if you look at circular number 125/44/2019, dated 18th September 2019, it provided for a specific period. So within 45 days, the refund has to be granted. Within 60 days, the refund has to be credited to the bank account of the dealer. However, due to certain constraints, the refunds are not getting processed within the time limit that has been provided. So the section has been amended to provide for computation of period of delay and interest on the delayed refunds. We were talking about the decriminalization of the offenses recommended in the 48th Council. The same has been actually made applicable in the budget as well. So the same thing has been imported in budget and the required sections has been amended. So it has decriminalized the offenses pertaining to obstructing or preventing any officer from discharging his duties, tampering or destroying any material evidences, or failing to supply any information which is required to supply or supplying false information. However, all this decriminalization does not apply to the issuance of fake invoices. What do we mean by fake invoices? Invoice which is not backed by goods or services or both. Again, section 132 and 138 has been amended, which we discussed in the 48th council meeting, a recommendation. So the limit of 1 crore has been done away and it is now 2 crores. One more new section has been inserted by the budget, section 158A. Now this is about sharing of information by the government to the different entities. Now whether it will be a private entity or a public entity, the clarification is still awaited to best of my information. However, they have sought a permission from the dealer. So if you read the section, it says to provide for manner and conditions for sharing of the information furnished by the registered person in his application for registration or in his return filed or in his statement of outward supplies or the details uploaded by him for generation of electronic invoice or e-way bill or any other details. So the panorama is quite wide, as may be provided by the rules on the common portal with such other systems as may be notified. Also, the budget speaks about, the amendment speaks about that no legal action lies on the government if there is any loss due to the sharing of this information. So that is one controversial provision that has been brought by the amendment that has been brought by the budget. The lot of discussion is happening on this, and maybe once the clarification is received, this particular amendment may see the light of the day. We are talking about non-taxable online recipients. So we are normally dealing with the registered dealers. However, there are many people who actually avail a lot of online content from the websites. So for example, your system, your smallest of these social media systems are actually free. And many people are using this particular social media for their, personal purposes. Now, section 2(16) defines non-taxable online recipient. And who was non-taxable online recipient? The person who is not using the online receipt of information for the purposes of business. Now they have tried to remove this condition of receipt of online information and database access and retrieval of services for purposes other than commerce, industry, or any other business or profession, so as to provide taxability of OIDR service provided by any other person located in the taxable territory. So right now it was that person is availing it for the purposes other than the business or commerce or industry, but now that has been done away. So it can be used for business, commerce, or industry. Then who is liable to pay taxes? The person who is providing this online information database access services is supposed to register in India and charge the taxes and pay the taxes. So the non-taxable online recipient definition has been amended. Bracket 17 has also been amended. Now OIDAR was what? Online information and database access or retrieval of services. It was initially that it should be a fully automated and does not involve or involves a very minimal human intervention. Now the definition has been amended to remove the condition of rendering of the state supply being essentially automated or involving minimal human intervention. So even if there is a human intervention, it will fall into the definition of online information and database access or retrieval of the services. Now, there was a bit of maybe a misinterpretation or the flaw in the law. In February 2019, the 12(8) provision was actually amended to provide that the person, when he's transporting the goods, and if the transport of goods is happening to a territory which is outside India, then the place of supply will be treated outside India, and the person has to levy IGST on it. And in the GST return, when he's filing, he is supposed to tick the territory as other territory, which is coded as 99 number, and make an invoice. However, due to this, there was a lot of challenges. Then the 30th September 2022, there was a withdrawal of the export freight exemption. Then there was a circular in October 22, which clarified that even though the place of supply is not within the zone of the recipient of the services of transport of goods, the input tax credit will be allowed to the recipient, but then later on it was somewhere not fitting into the law, and then they have omitted this 12 bracket 8, and this 12 bracket 8 has been omitted now. Therefore, the provision of supply of goods for the purposes of export will be treated as the registered person who is the recipient of service, or if the person is not registered, the location at which such goods are handed over there for their transportation. So 12 bracket 8 has been omitted. The proviso has been omitted, and now in the amendment, they have omitted the entire section itself. So now if the goods are getting transported, the person who is receiving these services, if he is registered, then the place of supply will be the location of the registered person, registered recipient. If he is not registered, then the person other than the registered person shall be the location at which such goods are handed over for their transportation. Now we talk about the 49th GST Council meetings. Most of the 49th GST Council meeting recommendations have been adopted in the recent amendments that has been passed in the Lok Sabha on 24th of March. So 49th GST Council meeting was held on 18th February 23, Saturday, and it was chaired by the Union Finance Minister and the Corporate Affairs Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman in New Delhi. The meeting was also attended by Union Minister of Finance, Union Minister of State for Finance Sri Pankaj Chaudhary, besides the Finance Ministers of States and Union Territories. So 49th GST Council recommendation, I will just brush it up. GST Appellate Tribunal. So we all know it's almost 6 years now that we do not have a GST Appellate Tribunal, and many of the cases or the appeals are still pending. Either the dealer has to file a writ petition or he has to wait for the GST Appellate Tribunal to be formed. So in 49th Council meeting, the Council adopted the report of Group of Ministers with the certain modifications. The final draft amendments to the GST law shall be circulated to the members for their comments. And now we have got to know that no professional member will be the part of this GST Appellate Tribunal. Let us wait for the final format of the GST Appellate Tribunal. Approval of the report of Group of Ministers on capacity-based taxation and special composition scheme in certain sectors on GST. So in case of tobacco or gutka or the masala, there is a challenge that the revenue is not getting collected or the people are not within the reach. So the Group of Ministers have suggested to make it more of capacity-based taxation and at a single point of a levy of single point of taxation. So with the view to plug the leakages and improve the revenue collection from the commodities like pan masala, gutka, chewing tobacco, the Council approved the recommendations of the Group of Ministers, including that the capacity-based levy not to be prescribed, compliance and tracking measures to be taken to plug revenue the leakages, exports of such commodities to be allowed only against letter of undertaking with consequential refund of accumulated ITC, compensation cess levied on such commodities to be changed from ad valorem to specific tax-based levy to boost the first stage collection of the revenue. So at the initial level only the collection should happen. They need not wait for the value added chain. Other changes that they have recommended is to extend the exemption available to educational institutions and central and state educational boards for conduct of entrance examination to any authority, board or body set up by central government or state government, including National Testing Agency, for conduct of entrance examination for admission to educational institutions. So now if central government, state government or National Testing Agency is conducting any entrance examination, then that particular transaction will be exempt and there will be no GST applicable on it. It has been decided to extend the dispensation available to the state government, central government and state legislature with regard to payment of GST under reverse charge in respect of taxable services supplied by them, such as renting of premises to telecommunication companies for installation of towers, renting of chamber to lawyers, etc. So no RCM applies to central government, state legislatures for the property that they have rented out for the installation of the telecommunication towers or renting of chambers to the lawyers or any such similar services rendered by them. Extension of time limit for application of revocation of cancellation of registration and one-time amnesty for past cases. So council has recommended an amendment to section 30, and which the amendment has taken, budget amendment has taken care of. The time limit for making an application for revocation be increased from 30 days to 90 days. So initially we had 30 days to apply for the revocation of cancellation. Now they have recommended to increase this limit from 30 days to 90 days. Also, in case the person fails to apply for such revocation within 90 days, the set time may be extended by the commissioner or the person authorized by him for a further period not exceeding 180 days. So from 90 days, he can also avail a facility of extending it to 180 days with the permission of the commissioner or an officer authorized by him. The council also recommended that an amnesty may be provided in past cases where registration has been cancelled on account of non-filing of returns, but application for revocation has not been filed within the time specified, by allowing such persons to file such application for revocation by specified date subject to certain conditions. So if a person's registration has been cancelled, and he has failed to apply for the revocation, then an amnesty is proposed with certain conditions to allow such persons to file a revocation. The notification, to best of my opinion, is still awaited on this. Then there is a rationalization of late fees. So you have GSTR 9, GSTR 4, GSTR 10, GSTR the annual returns, all the annual returns that is pending to be filed by many dealers. There was a lot of representation on this, and the 49th Council has taken care of recommending this. So now the late fees has been reduced, and possibly the notification is also awaited on this. And once the notification is there, this type of this amnesty can be worked around. So rationalization of late fee for annual return. Presently, late fee of 200 per day, subject to maximum 0.5% of the turnover, is payable in case of delayed filing of annual return in R9. The council recommended to rationalize this late fee for registered person having a turnover in the financial year up to ₹20 crores. So if you have a turnover of 20 crores or below, then there can be a possibility of getting a reduced fee. Registered person having a turnover up to 5 crores, the late fees is 25 subject to maximum of an amount calculated at 0.04%. That is 0.02% of each CGST and SGST. Registered person having an aggregate turnover more than 5 crores but below 20 crores, then the amount is 50 rupees CGST, 50 rupees SGST, and the percentage remains same as of the 5 crores, 0.02 CGST, 0.02 SGST. Also, they have recommended an amnesty for GSTR 4, GSTR 9, and GSTR 10. And this will actually provide a relief to most of the taxpayers whose annual returns are pending and they are under the duress due to the huge levy of late fees. GST best judgment assessment. So many a times the dealer has not filed the return and the officer is trying to reach him, but then for some reason is not able to reach him, or he does not have a proper information and he passes a best judgment assessment. Now, when there is a best judgment assessment, the dealer has no other option but to pay taxes, but then the best judgment assessment has not given him an opportunity of being heard. So there is a provision in the law that section 62(2) that if the return is filed within 30 days of the said assessment order, service of the said assessment order, then the best judgment order, assessment order will be withdrawn. Now that they have amended, So as per subsection 2 of section 2, the best judgment assessment order issued under subsection of the said section is deemed to be withdrawn if relevant return is filed within 30 days of the service of the said assessment order. The council recommends to increase the time period for filing of return for enabling deemed withdrawal from 30 days to 60 days, extendable to another 60 days, subject to certain conditions. So this is again a sort of an amnesty. So this is my presentation on 48th GST Council budget and then 49th GST Council. I have taken over more of a significant provisions. I have not touched into the smaller provisions. Maybe we can discuss during the question answer sessions. I thank the entire team of Vijayawada and Narendra Babuji and Rajesh ji for giving me this opportunity. I hope I was able to do justice to the topic, and I am full of gratitude to the entire ICI and the council members for allowing me this opportunity. Thank you so much. I'm ready to take any questions if they are there.
I want to ask that. Yes, friends, ma'am is with us. If anyone is interested to ask any doubt regarding to the GST, she is not only restricted to particular topic. She can end to end. She is having full capability to share any knowledge regarding to the GST. You can ask her. You can raise questions through chat also, or you can unmute yourself. You can ask any doubts you are having practically. She is expert in GST. We have to utilize her service.
I hope it was not a fast presentation. Right.
Yes.
So there is one question, total exemption and RCM regarding PL. Please explain once again. So let's understand, if a dealer is there and he is having only exempt supply, he may be dealing in agricultural products, which is not taxable to GST. Now, in case he is availing any advocate services, or he is availing any services which are, sponsorship or any other services which is falling under tax for reverse charge mechanism. Now, for this specific transaction, the person had to get registered and he has to pay taxes under reverse charge, even though his outward supply is completely exempt. Now, the budget has amended this section 23, and section 23 is overriding section 22 and section 24. So the person who is only liable to register just because his one transaction of RCM is applying, he need not register because he is exclusively dealing in exempt supply and non-taxable supplies. In case he has one transaction of outward supply which is taxable, then possibly he has to register as per section 22 and 24, and then RCM transaction will apply. Only for RCM, he need not register with the GST department. Is there any time to conclude scrutiny of returns? Yes, it depends on which section it is. If it is 73, 61, which section the scrutiny is happening, and based on that, the scrutiny time limit applies. So, for example, the time to issue notice for 17-18 is expiring in June 23. So, for financial year 17-18, the officer will not be able to issue notice for the scrutiny after June 23. So, there is a time limit to every specific assessment or scrutiny that is happening. So one provision I think which I brushed up on, circular 183/15, that's a very beautiful provision. In fact, many people are availing the benefit of it. It is, a transaction that is done just because the data is not reflecting in GST or two-way. It can be, now certified by the supplier if the amount is below 5 lakh rupees. If the amount is above 5 lakh rupees, the chartered accountant or the CMA can certify it, and the person can avail the input tax credit, and department is also allowing it. So we have a question from Ujjwal Kapoor. My client did not file GSTR 1 and 3B since January 19. His registration was cancelled by jurisdiction officer. any remedy or amnesty available, you may suggest to revoke this. So if you read the recent 49th Council budget, 49th Council recommendations, they have recommended that the person who has failed to apply for the revocation of cancellation should be provided an amnesty. So it was initially 30 days, then it was 60 days, and again additional 180 days. But then now they will also come up with the amnesty for the people who have missed out to apply for the revocation. So let's wait for maybe one more month or so. We are badly awaiting that amnesty notification for the GSTR 4, GSTR 9, GSTR 10, revocation of the cancellation amnesty. All those are awaited. Possibly the notification is already in making, and we should be able to get it in the near future. How a CA can certify that the vendor has paid tax on a particular invoice? High risky. Yes, Ramakuti sir, I do agree that there is a bit of a risk on this. And if you read the entire 183 circular, it is saying that the officer will also verify. So it is not that based on the chartered accountant certificate that the officer is going to grant you a relief. Officer himself is also going to verify the credentials, is also going to verify the conditions that is provided in section 16.2, is also going to verify that 16.4 has not been breached, and then he will provide us the relief. So as a chartered accountant, you are not certifying the input tax credit, you are certifying the entire supply chain of that particular transaction. So right from the transaction that has started till the time it has ended, as a chartered accountant, you need to verify all the details, and you also need to be very clear that the document that is backing up those supply is also available with you. Merely blindly certifying the particular transaction may definitely land up into a risk. But then equally the GST officer is also taking that risk of certifying that transaction, because 183 is very clear that all the 4 conditions that they have provided, the officer is looking into those and then he's calling for the certificate copy. I hope I'm able to answer Ramakuti sir. I think, yeah. Yes. Opinion on availing and reversing of ITC reflecting in GSTR 2B, but not reflecting in the books to beat the time limit specified in 16.4, and re-availment of that ITC when it is reflecting in books subsequently. So let us understand, sir, if the data is reflecting in your GSTR 2B, it means the transaction has been incurred by the vendor and he has also discharged the taxes somewhere. But if the data is not reflecting in my books, then ideally I'm not eligible to claim the input tax credit. However, you need to get your internal controls in the system very, very stringent, because if the transaction has happened but the data is not reflecting, and availing the input tax credit post the 16.4 deadline will be a very big challenge. And you need to keep on filing your returns on time. So if you see 16.4 is more of filing the returns on time rather than availing the input tax credit on time. So what I suggest is every month, based on the amendment that has happened in January 22, get your GSTR to be reflected into your some Excel system and start following up with your internal departments why the entry is not reflecting in the books. And if it is not reflecting in the books, what are the consequential risk and the loss that the company is going to incur? Many corporate companies are facing this challenge of the invoices coming late to them and then losing the input tax credit. However, if you ask me, there is, as of now, if the time limit is breached of 16.4, then officer is going to invoke this provision and disallow the input tax credit to you. And once the input tax credit has been availed and disallowed, then it becomes a very big challenge, because 16.4 is in the law itself. It is not coming through some notification or circular. It is in the law itself. So what we suggest is get your books in place, get the invoices in place, and also look into the significance of the input tax credit. At least the major 20% of the invoices should always be on time. And once you have not missed the taking the input tax credit on time, then you cannot avail it beyond the time limit. It is a loss to the company. I hope I have answered it. filing of REG 14 is by manual mode or online. REG 14 is REG 14 is registration certificate. I just need to check REG 14. Amendment to the GST application. So there is no manual mode of amendment. Everything is on portal. So if your place of business is changing, if your mobile number is changing, if your authorized signatory is changing, everything is online. Manual mode, even the department officers do not accept it because it does not get into the system, and the jurisdiction officer and the assessing officer and the GST officer, audit officer may be different. So if the data is not reflecting on online, normally the officer does not accept the changes made. So it is suggested do not go for a manual mode. Please make online submissions and let it be reflected online. For example, if you see, if your Aadhaar is not authenticated, your export refunds are not getting processed and it is getting stopped by the department. So what I suggest is make an online application for your amendments. Is there any case law on section 16.4 in favor of assessee? As of now, the matter is debatable. It is lying in various courts. If I recall properly, it's with the Gujarat High Court. It is also with Punjab and Haryana High Court. I think it is also with Allahabad High Court. So as of now, we do not have a 16.4 anything. However, certain judgments, they have commented on it. In one of the cases, I do not recall the exact case law, but the Supreme Court has said that 16(4) is not a mandatory provision. It is only a directing provisions. So it is only directing to disallow the credit. It is not a mandatory provision. So it becomes a discretion of the officer as well. However, the department is not accepting that, and possibly once we have this writ petitions coming up in future, we may have certain clarity, or if some representations go from the associations or the institute, maybe the government can allow some benefit out of it. Residential building given for government for hostel and receiving rental amount of rupees 36 lakh. So it is a residential building, it is given to the government and it is used for residential purposes. Then RCM applies. It does not come under forward charge. It comes under reverse charge. However, if residential building is given for a commercial purposes, now your agreement needs to be vetted to understand whether the purpose of the renting of the building is residential or commercial. If it is commercial, turnover is 36 lakh, forward charge applies. If it is used for residential purposes and it can be proved that it is residential purposes, then the government department which has taken it on residence, on the rent, needs to pay GST under RCM. The dealer need not pay the GST on this. So residential property only RCM, commercial property only forward charge. It does not exchange each other. I hope residential building query is clear. Simple. If it is a residential property given on residence to the registered person, then RCM applies. There is no forward charge in residential property. If it is a commercial property given to the registered person, then forward charge applies. Reverse charge does not apply. So if a dealer is not registered who is giving a commercial property and rent, then there is no reverse charge. I hope I'm clear on this. RCM payable on royalty paid to government. Sir, I need to understand what type of royalty it is. If it is a mining royalty, then to the best of my information, there is a stay that is applicable by the Supreme Court on it. But mining, there is a stay that is applicable. You can check with the case laws. There is a stay that is, applied on it. But then again, we have a, do not have a very strong case on it. So I suggest you evaluate the risk and start, I suggest to evaluate the risk and pay the taxes. Whatever is applicable, you can pay it under protest. And in case we get a favorable judgment from the Supreme Court, then you can always go for a refund. But as of now, mining is under stay.
I think no more questions now because we are rapid firing of the answer also. PPT is like presentation is also same and answers also. Every question we are shooting the answers. Very nice. Friends, are there any more doubts we are having? Otherwise, we will pick up the question. Yes, ma'am, or do you want to say anything else you want?
I think I have, quite a speeded up the presentation. I should have been bit, slower, but then GST is such a thing that it always keeps you on toes. So you are always, trying to rush through. I'm sorry if I've, done it very fast, but my PPT is always there and I will share it with the sir. And any questions that you have, you can always come back. A simple GST is a very good law, and it has brought in a lot of transparency to the government as well and to us also. So if I quote like this, as a chartered accountant, I'm more, comfortable and confident doing audits nowadays because the data is reflecting on government portal. The person's identity is vetted by the government. So a dealer who is making transaction of crores of rupees, his ID is vetted by the government and the KYC is done by government. So for me, taking confirmation from the person is done away. I can go and look at his data, take the transactional data, and I'm more happy confirming those numbers because it's all reflecting on a third-party government portal. So as a chartered accountant, I have DGFT portal, which is talking about the remittances that is received for exports. I have shipping bill copies. I have IceGate to, confirm the exports and the imports. I have GSTR 2A, I have GSTR 2B as well. So everything is on the, somewhere giving me a lot of confidence and leverage, and everything is available in Excel. So I'm sure people who know technology and know the Excel, the potential, gets very big when you get the data in Excel. So download the data, thousands of transactions, brush it up and use it for your, your presentations, your audit reports, your opinions, and everything can be matched, overnight and shared with the management and told them, see, this is existing, this is not existing, and this is what we are qualifying. So it becomes very confident, after GST coming in, I have become, more technology oriented, more, confident now. So my thoughts is, instead of being worried about GST, as in it is very big law or a lot of amendments are there, we have amendments because we have so many states, union territories, and then geographically we have very different versatilities. So a particular state may be happy, growing rice, and then particular state may be happy growing sugarcane. So they will always demand amnesty and the benefit in sugarcane, and then rather than other state which does not have a sugarcane. So every state has its own peculiar situation. I will just brief upon. Recently, Rajasthan state government came up with the benefit to the dealers who are claiming refund. So now, if you look at the circulars of the CGST 125/44, it was saying that within 60 days you will get refund. But Rajasthan state government came up with the benefit saying that within 21 days you should get a refund. Now SGST officer will have to process the refund within 21 days. Otherwise, they will have to give interest. A central government officer will have an option of processing within 60 days. So now there is, disparity between, state government officer and a central government officer. And that's the beauty of GST law. So one who is very good can, push through the systems and make other people to come to that level and match it. And the dealer is always benefited because within 20 days, if you get a refund, nothing like it. In earlier years, used to wait for 4 years, 5 years. Now you get refund within 20-25 days. And such a big change that it has brought in the system. So I think I have done. Thank you so much again. My all gratitude, and believe me, it has been really a pleasure. I'm smiling to my ear to ear. I'm so happy to be part of this.
Thank you. Friends, I think a lot of messages are also in the chat box. Okay, your session is nice, and thank you to the branch and as well as the youth also. It's not rushing session, it is a good going session. Happy. You didn't also worry about it, you is not rushed that. But it's your voice is also so smooth. We are happy to listen continuously. No problem, madam. Yes, friends, it's going to be concluding the session. Okay, I would like to thank my heartfelt thanks to our chief guest today. Our chief guest now, CA Rajesh Garu from SIRC. He is from Coimbatore, and for his valuable presence and best suggestions regarding to the topic in his presence has indeed and made the event even more special, and his valuable input and suggestions have provided the much needed input to the seminar. And I would also like to my sincere gratitude to our esteemed speaker, CA Archana Yadav from Bombay, for sharing her in-depth knowledge and expertise on the latest developments and updates on the GST. Her excellence in the delivery and insightful presentation have not only enlightened us but also helped us gain valuable insights into the intricacies of the GST. I would also like to express my gratitude to all the participants who have taken their valuable time out of their busy schedule to attend the seminar. And it is your active participation only we can able to conduct this type of events. Okay, it is made this event as a grand success. Let us continue our participation, and we organize, definitely we are giving the promise to all the members. We will going to be organized more and more seminars such like this, and with the eminent faculty and forward from the India and abroad also, we are trying to pick the for the cause of members to enhance your knowledge here and stay up to date with the latest developments and trends and the branch program. And thank you each and everyone, and have a great day. And Jai Hind, Jai ICA. Thank you each and everyone. We are going to be signing off. Thank you, ma'am. Each on behalf of Vijayawada branch, your acceptance and all. The presentation is also awesome, ma'am. Thank you, bye members, and we are going to be signing off. Good night.